Don't chew on that, Max.
Cooper loves that chew too.
Oh, now he's into Cooper's food. Wow, he is loving it. What do you feed Cooper?
Blue Buffalo Life Protection Formula. He never leaves a crumb. I love it because it's made with high-quality protein, nutrient-rich fruits and veggies, and wholesome whole grains.
Looks like we're switching to Blue.
Blue Buffalo foods are made with the superior ingredients your dog needs to thrive. Can your dog food say that? Visit feedbluefood.com to learn more.
Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE SIPC.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my podcast, Esme's Country Life. Today's episode is a bonus episode that I'm posting every Wednesday in the roll up to Christmas, which I haven't really decided on the name yet, so I'm going to call it for now my mini pod series. So instead of talking about, my normal day-to-day week of what I've been up to with the animals, often very embarrassing stories, do not worry, because this week is also going to be a very embarrassing one, because I'm going to be talking about my top 5 falls, or the top 5 times I have fallen off a horse. Now, thinking about it, I lost count of falling off horses many, many moons ago. Probably was around 2011, I think, my first ever pony club camp with my pony Mickey. I remember I lost a count about then. That was at about 30, so I'll let you guess how many times I've fallen off. But anyway, before we begin, I just want to say a huge thank you to the sponsor of the podcast, Red Post. Red Post is an equestrian and country store based in the UK, and they also ship all over the world. And when this podcast episode goes out, Red Post have a huge Black Friday sale coming soon. And actually, they already have some discounts sprinkled about at the moment. And one of them is, which is very fitting for today's podcast episode, is they have up to 15% off selected lines of helmets. And we all know when you fall off, it is so important, especially if you hit your head, to replace your helmet, because once it's been impacted, it won't be able to do the same job that it did the first time around. Also, maybe your helmet is really, really old. They do have a lifetime date, so please update your helmets and stay safe out there, guys. And thank you to Red Post for sponsoring the podcast. Go and check them out at redpostequestrian.co.uk. Anyway, let's get into today's podcast episide, because I feel like I often get asked what's your worst fall and that kind of thing in Q&As, but I feel like I have lots of different ones for different reasons of why they have made the top 5. So welcome to my top 5 falls. Also, if you have any ideas of what else you would like to hear in my mini pod series, please let me know in the comments below. Maybe it could be my top 5 rides, my top 5 something else, or just any other topics that you would like me to chat about. It could be with horses, it could be maybe a little bit controversial, it can be anything. So I'm interested to see what you guys would like me to chat about, because obviously you are the listeners and I want to produce content that you're interested in. But anyway, let's go with we'll start with number 5. Should we do it like a countdown, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1? I think that's the best way to do it. So for fall number 5, which definitely wasn't my 5th fall, it was actually my first fall, because I had to put my first fall up in there. It had to be in the kind of honourable mentions, or honourable mentions. I just spoke way too quickly then. Obviously very excited to tell you about my embarrassing falls. So anyway, this first one was actually a few meters in that direction, because it was actually in the field. So we are talking a long time ago. I didn't own my own pony. I was still riding at the riding school, but a family friend of ours very kindly let me ride their pony for free, in return that they got to keep it with the donkeys in our paddock, which I was very, very lucky that was honestly the best of both worlds, because I come from a family that didn't know anything about horses, so to have a family friend help teach me about all the horsey things, because obviously owning a horse is a lot of responsibility and there's a lot of things that you've got to know. So she helped me, she taught me a lot. So I owe a lot to her. So this pony was called Bradley. He was a cob. He was probably about 12, 13 hands. I remember him being just a tad bit smaller than Mickey. He was all black, but he had a bold face, I think it's called, where like a lot of their face is white when it comes to like markings. And he also had a singular blue eye. Now Bradley, he was a lovely little pony. He was a great show jumper actually, but he bless him, he did have a little buck in him here and there. He definitely was maybe for a more experienced rider, but he was great on the lead rein and he was great teaching me lessons when I was younger. So we were out in the paddock because this was way before we had proper stables. We didn't have any arena or anything fancy at all. Again, this was before I even had my own ponies, so this was a long time ago. Actually, this is so awful. The helmet I was wearing was a hand-me-down, so do not wear hand-me-down helmets. If you're going to invest in anything at all when it comes to horse riding, it is a helmet, because you need to protect your brain. That is like one of the most important things. And also, number two, the other thing was, I'm pretty sure the, like I didn't have any body protector or anything like that. And obviously I was still kind of newish to horse riding. Maybe I'd been riding like 2-3 years at this stage, so I knew how to canter, and it was actually while I was jumping. So my family friend's mum was lunging Bradley. I was on Bradley. Now she said, oh, turn around to the jump, and young Esme thought, oh, the jump right here, okay, I'll turn to it right now. So I did the sharpest turn ever, which obviously Bradley was a very honest boy. He was a lovely little guy. I actually wonder what he's doing. Actually, that's really sad to think. He might not be with us anymore. But anyway, I hope he's still out there, and I hope he's having a lovely life. Last time I heard, he was somewhere around Santa Pod. If anybody from Santa Pod is listening and knows a horse called Bradley of that description, that's probably the same one. He was a very unusual looking little guy. Anyway, so I turned to this jump way too quickly. Now, this jump was probably only about 30 centimeters. Also, this jump was made out of old rubber tires and an old telegraph pole. So it really was like DIY horse riding on a budget, which was basically the whole of my childhood. So anyway, moving on. So I turned way too quickly to this jump. Obviously, Bradley was like, hold the phone, what's happening here? Even though I was on a lunge, so I probably should have like used my thinking brain and realised, oh, she meant the other jump really far away that we will circular go round on the lunge too. Anyway, so it's kind of weird that I fell off on the lunge for my first ride, but anyway. So yes, I remember just doing a roly-poly, but actually, I remember being so excited that I fell off. I remember it being like a hot summer's day as well, because all of my friends that were super horsey, that had Shetland ponies since they could, you know, not even like before they could walk and talk, like all of my friends at primary school, like grew up in a super mega horsey family, had like a string of ponies, went to pony club, all that kind of stuff. When I was riding in a field with donkeys with a jump made out of old like planks of wood and, you know, rubber tires. So anyway, I just remember my whole childhood wanting to feel like a proper equestrian. So anyway, I remember when I fell off, I was like, I am a proper horse rider. I have fallen off. Like, it's finally happened to me. So excited, which is like the most weird and bizarre thing ever. But then after that, my friend was like, well, you're not really a proper rider until you've fallen off at least 7 times. So then after that, I was like, oh, 1 down, 6 more to go. Young Esme, you shouldn't have been excited about falling off. It's happened to you way too many times now. But anyway, yeah, I guess my whole childhood, I just wanted to feel like I belonged in the equestrian community and that I was a proper equestrian. But anyway, so that is number 5 for my falls. Number 4 is a comedy one, okay? It's a bit of a comedy one. It was on Casper. It was at Pony Club. It was in the winter. We were riding in this arena, and Casper, I probably had owned him just under a year. So he was still very excited every time we went to Pony Club. It was still very new. It was like a big thing. And I remember cantering around the arena and Casper bronking and me going off doing a somersault over his head. Now, the reason why this is funny is because of where I landed. Yes, you can guess that I landed in a hot, steaming pile of manure. Yes, lovely. And because it was at Pony Club, do you know what I was wearing? I was wearing my cream breeches. So when I came up, not only did I have sand all over me, rubber marks from the rubber arena. I also had a lovely big poo stain on my butt cheek. So I think those years of Pony Club, especially in the winter, and especially the amount of times I'd fall off, my mum cursed the Pony Club uniform having to be beige breeches. I'm pretty sure they have moved on since then, and now you can wear like black or navy or like smart coloured breeches, as long as they're not like hot pink. It's part of their uniform. Definitely my club. Obviously all clubs are different, but yeah, that was definitely number 4, landing in poo. It happens to the best of us, okay? It happens to the best of us. Fall number 3 was at a Pony Club rally on my pony Mickey. This was on a Wednesday afternoon rally. I used to really enjoy these because we would do badging first, where we would do horse and pony kind of care, and you'd get like a little badge. And then actually, I remember this so well because I got my butterflies and moths badge, which I don't really know how this really is involved with horses, but there's a lot of butterflies and moths in your paddock. I was, to be fair, I was that kid that was decked out with all the badges. I think I had about 30 badges in total by the end of my Pony Club career. So I think they did run out of ideas. We did have like a few odd ones. We had like a stargazing one as well, and we did like a camp. We did some stargazing. Anyway, I remember this really specifically because I had my butterflies and moths badge that day. And anyway, it was then time afterwards to do our riding. Now, we did our Pony Club rallies in this big field that was kind of like cornered off by a little kind of rope fence. So we're riding around in this field. It was a little bit like uneven ground, like there was a bit of a hill. It wasn't like super flat or anything like that. But also at this place, there were some wild rabbits, and a wild rabbit, I think, had maybe started to burrow a hole and then went, nah, not feeling it, this ain't the place. So I was riding Mickey along. I think it was only in trot. It was it was the most undramatic fall I've ever had. So bless him, he tripped up in this little rabbit hole that I obviously did not see, and I ended up doing a roly-poly. All of these have ended up me doing a roly-poly. Anyway, I did a roly-poly off over his neck, but the worst part was, bless him, the poor little guy fell kind of like on top of me. So it wasn't like a super rotation or anything like that. But the reason why this fall was bad, like I just saying, I was completely fine. I thought, oh, oopsie, we've had a little tumble. You guys know me. I always like, actually, there's a story coming up where maybe this should not be the motto of the story, but I'm very much, get back in the saddle, get back on the horse, that kind of thing. So anyway, I, like, no mountain block, no leg up, was like quickly like, all right, I'm all good. Quick, get back on Mickey, ready to go. And then my instructor says to me, Esme, I think you might need to go and find yourself a first aid kit. And I was like, what? I'm completely fine. What are you going on about? Anyway, because it was the summer, I was wearing short sleeves. Now, I'm pretty sure Pony Club, if you're jumping, you have to wear long sleeves. But because we weren't jumping, we were just doing like a flat work session or something like that, I had short sleeves on. So I look down at my left arm, and what do I see? Sorry for anybody squeamish. We're going to all, say what we're thinking of seeing. That red liquid that I can't talk about because the community guidelines will flag this video up. But I had a lovely little cut on my arm, and it looked like a battle scene. So anyway, I obviously then after hopped off, got my arm all patched up. I remember this so vividly as well, because I remember my dad being like, Esme, put your Pony Club jumper on so mum doesn't see that I've hurt myself horse riding. Because also I remember this story so well because my grandparents were at home that day and they were looking after my younger brother Max, so Max didn't have to go to Pony Club and get dragged around to horsey things that he thought was super boring. Shout out to all the younger brothers or younger siblings or older siblings that aren't interested in horses and get dragged everywhere. My dad's now pointing at himself and says that he needs a shout out for taking me to Pony Club for all of those years. So thank you, Dad. Thank you, Dad, for taking me to Pony Club. Anyway, so yes, that was probably the least dramatic one because I was completely fine. Didn't even realise that my arm looked like a battle scene. But actually, I was all good. I quickly patched it up, put my Pony Club jumper over the top, all was well. Now we're going on to fall number 2. Now this one is not as funny. It's not as dramatic. Actually, no, it is quite dramatic because this is probably one of the more painful falls that I've ever had. Now, this was on my pony Casper. Let me set the scene. So, it's after school in, I want to say maybe the spring or maybe it's the autumn. It's the time of year where it's dark, but not super dark after school. It's light enough that I'm just able to ride. Now, again, this was before we had an arena or anything like that. So riding Casper, the only place I could ride him after school was in the field. Now, this was a big open field at kind of dusk. No, dusk is the morning. No, dawn is the morning. Yes, at dusk. That's it. Sorry, had a real brain wave wiggly. Anyway, moving on. So it was getting to what in my family we call the witching hour, which is when it's almost dark but not quite, and all of the animals, all of the children, like basically me and my brother, would have like a funny 5 minutes, would get zoomies, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, tell you what, Foss dog, he gets the witching hour, he gets zoomies around that sort of time. So anyway, probably wasn't a very good time to ride. Casper hadn't been ridden much because it was, and either end of winter or going into winter, weather hadn't been great. Was like, I just want to ride my horse after school. Probably, looking back on it, was not the best conditions. I was riding him along, suddenly he spooks at something. Now, like most horses, when they spook, they have a natural reaction to, defend themselves against the scary predator that's going to get them. What was Casper's? To buck and bronk and squeal and gallop from one side of this big open field to the other. And what did that mean? I fell off, of course. I mean, I remember sticking it for quite a while, and then I hit the ground. And I hit the ground hard. I winded myself, which if you've ever had the wind knocked out of you, which I think sounds like Davide's about to do that because he always likes to cough when I record my podcast episodes. If we ever have a cut, it's normally because he needs to cough. But the boy does have asthma, so I can't complain too much. So anyway, had the wind knocked out of me, but the worst part was I landed on my coccyx, which is like your tailbone. And if you have ever landed on that before, you will now know how incredibly painful it is. So that's probably up there with the pain levels. Also, it's probably up there because after that, my parents had a conversation with me about how Casper was dangerous and how we needed to sell him. So that was also, if you know my riding story and know our journey and know all of that, that was also a very painful evening in my heart because I thought he was going to be sold and he would probably end up in a really bad home that would be really mean to him and wouldn't understand that he's just a nervous horse that needs to see the world and know that it's not scary and form that trust and love with somebody, and also probably needs a rider who needs a lot of lessons and anyway, and all the other things that we talked about in last week's mini pod about how to manage spicy.
This episode is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. What do you bring to a holiday party? Simple. A bottle of Casamigos. Because nothing gets the party started like a Casamigos margarita, which isn't just for summer. In fact, it's the perfect pour all year round. Casamigos is the gift that always feels right. Because anything goes with my Casamigos. Please drink responsibly. Imported by Casamigos Spirits Company, White Plains, New York. Casamigos Tequila, 40% alcohol by volume.
Your planet is now marked for death.
Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four: First Steps is now streaming on Disney+.
We will protect you.
As a family.
Light them up, Johnny!
Marvel's first family is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
That is fantastic.
And critics say it's one of the best superhero movies of all time.
Oh!
Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four: First Steps, now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG-13.
What time is it, Ben? It's clobber time!
Siri, we don't need emergency services. What? I don't know what I said then, but it triggered Siri, and Siri started asking me if I needed help and emergency services to be called. So anyway, obviously, my riding stories or my riding falls are getting that dramatic that even Siri's added to the chat being like, girl, you need help. But anyway, if you listened to last week's mini pod episode that I do every Wednesday, you will know that I talked all about spicy horses in the winter. So actually looking back on it, there were probably quite a few things I could have done to manage Casper's energy levels, let's say. And then lastly, let's move on to my worst fail in spot number 1. I feel like I'm one of those like Watch Mojo YouTube videos where they're like, and in first place for the top worst water slides ever. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I feel like I'm doing that. But for my worst fall was on, you can probably guess, Joey. So this was when Joey was a 5-year-old. It was in lockdown and we were doing some jumping at home. Now, Joey, bless him, when he was younger, he used to get quite frustrated if he ever knocked a fence when show jumping. Don't worry, we've done a lot of fence knocking since and he's got over it. He's grown up. But it was my fault. Like with everything with horses, it's like the majority of the time, always the rider's fault. I know, it was my fault, put my hands up high. But anyway, I buried him into this fence. He knocked it. He then squealed and was angry and was like, I'm frustrated. I knocked this jump and you buried me into it. Why did you do that, Mum? You're a rubbish rider. I know, I'm a rubbish rider. Put my hands up high. But anyway, what then happened was he squealed and then he bolted and bucked. I can't really remember. It's one of those falls that happened. I feel like recalling falls is always quite difficult because it all happens so quickly. Also, I hit my head quite badly when doing this fall, so maybe it knocked a bit of memory out of me. I don't know. But anyway, I was very naughty because it was a flat work session, and like back then I was like, I'm not going to ride with the body protector for flat work. It's only flat work. I'll be fine. And then I was like, I'll pop a few little jumps at the end. It'll be good fun. Didn't have my body protector on. Tut. Naughty as me. Did have my helmet on though, which I always ride with a helmet, and now pretty much I always ride with an air jacket and a helmet. But anyway, moving on. So Joey went in one direction, I went in the other direction. So obviously he bolted really, really fast, and then he thought, oh, wait a minute, there's an arena fence here. I'm gonna have to do a sharp turn so I don't run into the fence. So anyway, Joey does a sharp turn. What happens? I go out the side door, and do you know where I go out the side door? My head hits the arena fence. My ribs hit the arena fence. And the reason why it was such a bad fall is because on the arena fence, obviously, there's kind of like almost a spike point, because if you think of it like a square plank, you have the flat surface and then you have the surface on top, and then you kind of have like a thin line of spike. That's basically where my head hit. So yes, Charles Owen, actually, who all of my helmets are with, so very, very lucky to be a sponsored rider for Charles Owen. They actually took my helmet in after that, analysed it, chopped it in half to see what it looked like in the centre, and the guy that was analysing it asked me how long I was in hospital for, or how long I was concussed for. So it goes to show how bad the fall was. It was also so bad that the bang made such a noise that my grandma, who lives next door, came out and was like, "Ooh, what was that big bang?" And I was like, that was my skull on the helmet, on the arena fence, as well as my rib, also on the arena fence. Now, can I just say, my parents, who both have a medical background, they obviously checked me over that evening, and they were like, nah, I think you're all right. I said, my rib really hurts. I think I've broken it. And they were like, no, you're fine. It looks fine. The next morning, when I sit up, I feel like I have had horrible things done to my chest. Let's just say that. Again, don't want to disrupt the community guidelines. This is a family-friendly show. Anyway, so then I go to my dad. I really think I've broken my rib. So he goes and examines me again, like, stop being so dramatic. Anyway, feels that there is a crack and a lump on my rib. Now, if you've ever broken a rib before, sorry if you're squeamish, we won't be talking about this for long, you will know that it really hurts. Even breathing, it really hurts. So anyway, since then I've learnt my lesson. Even if you're just doing a little chill ride and just gonna hop a little jump, wear your body protector, wear your back protector, wear your air jacket or whatever. Protect your rib, protect your spine, protect your spleen, protect your body. There's some important things going on here. You want to protect yourself and stay safe out there. So anyway, there we go. I was so silly. I'm going to blame this on my head being hit very hard against an arena fence. But did I get back straight on afterwards? Yes, I did. Now, is that a good thing to do for your confidence? It is for your confidence. But when you have a mashed up helmet, don't do that. I mean, girl, you're sponsored by Charles Owen. Go and grab another helmet from your tack room. You've got a spare one. Go and put that on. Did I do that? No. Now I have learnt. I am older. I am wiser. And you know what? With horses, again, you're always learning something new. So learn from my mistakes. If you fall off and hit your head, don't get back on the horse. get a new helmet. So anyway, on that note, I'm going to finish off today's mini pod episode there. Let me know in the comments what your worst fall is, or maybe your funniest fall if you've ever fallen off, because I feel like I've shared my experience now. I need some consoling. I need to listen to yours or read yours in the comments. I just want to say another huge thank you to Red Post. Again, if you need a new helmet, go and check them out at redpostequestrian.co.uk, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!